have asked who Anuska was a year ago, I would not have had a clue. But I'm resilient, I'm a survivor, I ain't a victim no more.
Resilience Rising podcast.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Resilience Rising. Why I've wanted to have today's guest on is because I have known her for a long time, and we recently met up for coffee, and what this lady has been through and her rising back up from it takes some strength and power. And her story is quite heartbreaking. Could be a trigger warning for some. But I'd like you to welcome Alison. Hi Alison,
Hi,
are you all right?
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I really want to get this out. It's something horrific that happened to me 3 years ago. And I think more awareness needs to be out there about what I experienced. The trauma at the hands of my abuser, but also the trauma at the hands of the system as well. So I'd like to speak to you about that first.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. And the reason this resonates with me is because the system fails people, and not just that subject alone, but Alison's strength and her journey and her story would resonate with a lot of women that we know that have been through some sort of something similar. But I'll let Alison start you off with. Let's start from the beginning.
So the beginning was 3 years ago. I was in a very vulnerable state. I'd been through not a messy breakup, but a heartbreaking breakup. And I was fairly vulnerable. And I chose to go out on a night out with friends. It led to me meeting my abuser. He came across initially as nice, warm, you know, everything that you want really from somebody that you might want to build a relationship with. And he turned out to be my worst nightmare over the 4 months that I was with him.
God, the 4-month period
Just
of
4
time,
months, yeah.
which was what I've found out so far, sounds like hell.
Yeah. So for 4 months, like I say, it started off normal as it would, and there were just little things creeping in, like he told me that he wasn't right. I didn't know what he meant by that at the time, but he just said, oh, I'm not right. So
4 months in, you'd assume that is like a honeymoon period?
Yeah,
No?
yeah. I mean, I'm going from the very first week. In fact, you know, he confessed that he had mental health issues.
From the first week?
He confessed that he had a drug addiction. All these things, but he'd sort of primed me into believing that he was this lost soul and he'd been abused, so he knew what strings to pull with me to get his story.
Yeah, and knowing you always see the best in people, and I can only imagine, you know, people would go, well, why didn't you run?
Yeah.
At the signs of someone having an addiction past, or, you know, saying I'm not right. But the Alison that I know takes everyone at face value and sees the good in everyone.
That's it. And I think with me, I try and see the good in everybody, and I do see the good in everybody until something upsets me. But then sometimes that's too late. I felt I was in too deep with this man. He'd given me the sob story saying he was abused as a child. His mother and father were no longer with him. You know, they both committed suicide. He'd got all these childhood traumas going on, which then led to him telling me that he'd got schizophrenia, he'd got all this mental health stuff going on. Then on top of that, his drug addiction. So for me, I think the empath in me wanted to help him.
I was just going to say, did you think you could save him?
Yeah, wanted me to fix him, which, you know, to my detriment.
Yeah, as we know now, you can only save yourself.
Yeah. So it went on for a few weeks, I'll say, was absolutely fine. You know, I've got all these plans, and, you know, I'm a business owner. I'm a successful business owner. I've been self-employed for 12 years. I class myself as an all-round, you know, stable person. And slowly but surely, I saw myself sort of crumbling. But it was almost like I couldn't do anything about it. And this man was sort of in my life. He'd pushed himself, wedged himself into my life. And I had this desire then to help him, regardless of whether we were going to make it as a couple or not.
Yeah, that's just within you, that.
So about 2-3 weeks in, it started, and the abuse started, and it would come in the form of accusing me of sleeping with other people, accusing me of messaging people, checking my phone, literally going on my phone without asking. Then he had a hang up about my ex-partner. Then he started issuing his threats, saying, you know, if I find out you've done X, Y, and Z, I'm going to slash his throat.
Oh God, so there's major red flags
yeah.
flapping at that point.
And again, I think because looking back, because I was in such a vulnerable position, I didn't really take on board the severity of it. And I just thought there were the ramblings of a really unstable person.
Yeah.
And I tried to reassure him, being the empath that I am, you know, tried to show him said, look, my phone's an open book, you can look in at any time, I'm not doing anything untoward, you know, I don't want to do that. So, but he wouldn't have it, and he used that as his sort of excuse for his outbursts. And I can only call them outbursts because they would only happen every now and again.
Yeah, I can identify with that, with drug use especially. Had you done your life coach course at this point?
Not at that point, no.
Oh, okay, right.
No,
I understand more.
I have got a background in coaching and counselling, but I've not really, again, my vulnerable state just sort of blindsided me to what was actually going on. It almost very quickly become my reality, you know, my normality.
Yeah, sorry I jumped ahead a little bit there. We'll come to the life coach bit.
So in the first few weeks, like I say, it was just the odd outburst, the odd threat here and there, but then they became more frequent. And by probably 2 months in, it was every day. And every time I was with him. And it was sort of like in a jovial way to begin with. He'd be like, I'm going to do this. And then he'd go, I'm really sorry about that. I shouldn't behave like that. And I really shouldn't say these things.
And did you actually believe, you know, when you were going, that's not me, I'm not that guy?
Yeah.
And
It was sort of like Jekyll and Hyde all the time. 1 minute it'd be one person, next minute it'd be the other, and then it'd be all apologetic. But that's an abuser's textbook, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I knew all this as well from past experiences. But all I can say is at the time I was in such a vulnerable state. I chose for some reason. I took his sob story on.
Yeah.
I took all the reasons.
You stayed in a comfortable
as his
zone
excuse,
rather than
and
a comfortable.
me being the nurturing person that I am, wanted to fix him, wanted to help him get off drugs. So 2 months in, and he starts with a physical, and again starts it off a bit of a play fight, which then turns into a bit more serious, where he's punching me, leaving marks on my body, and he'd back off totally. If I fought back, he'd fight harder, and it was he's only joking, you know. I'd get upset, obviously, because he'd hurt me, and then I'd be emotionally hurt because he'd put his hands on me.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it'd be fists, a lot of the time it'd be strangulation. There was all kinds of threats being dished out on a daily basis. So I was totally under his control by 2 months in.
And did you ever think, like, not to judge girls that have been through it, because nobody goes into it thinking it's going to happen or they're too big for it or whatever, but did you ever see, like, it was never unheard of that friends would go through something similar and you'd be like, never me, that will never happen to me?
Yeah, and I think as well, the element of embarrassment as well, you know, I'd let this person who, without sounding really snooty, that just wasn't for me, you know.
Yeah.
His background was very different to mine, his addiction was very, you know,
I would definitely not have put you with someone like him.
Definitely not into any sort of drugs or his patterns of behaviour even.
Because
he was just erratic.
You've never lived that lifestyle of drug use and stuff.
And up until that point, I'd clawed myself back from various abusive relationships to being very stable for years, and then to come across this person who literally overnight put me back into the position that I was in 20 odd years ago from my very abusive relationship. And I think that embarrassment overshadowed everything. So I kept everything very private.
Is it like the once, feel me once, shame on me, but feel me twice, double shame on me,
yeah.
that kind of, I
Exactly.
can resonate with that.
So as time went on, the attacks got more severe, and the pressure I was under to stay with him, be by his side, just so that he couldn't accuse me, was horrendous. It was almost like I didn't want him to leave me, or even though I didn't want him around me because he was violent and he was abusive and he was all these other things. But then I also didn't want to be without him, because when I wasn't with him, that little slot of time, he would say that I'd slept with somebody, or he'd say that I'd been chatting to someone else.
Yeah, so
And it was
battle
that
the devil,
control. Yeah, it was just about control. He never believed that, because I wasn't doing anything like that. But that's how he got control, and that's how he got a grip of me. And this went on for probably three months in now, and I was an aesthetic practitioner, doing Botox, doing clinics up and down the country. And I had about 4 or 5 clinics.
Yeah, I seen what I seen from social media. This was your peak.
Yeah,
This was
yeah,
obviously
I
in
was
the making.
thriving,
You were at
absolutely
your
thriving.
fittest, doing well with businesses, and really living the life that you
Yeah.
built from the bottom up for
Yeah,
yourself,
absolutely.
which was
It took,
beautiful to see.
It took a lot for me to build up my business.
Yeah.
A lot of trust were built up, and I had a clinic in Christchurch, which is near Bournemouth, and I went there religiously for about every 6 months. I'd go down and I'd have a load of clients that I'd see.
It's very much involved.
And this one time I was asked to go down, do a clinic in Bournemouth, and I told him, and he was like, I'll come with you.
Oh God.
So again, being in that situation, where do I go without him? Then I come back and I've got a load of abuse, a load of accusations, or does he come with me and he's there with me and he can't accuse me of anything? So that's the route I chose.
So kind of it for an easy life,
yeah.
not a better one.
He then said, well, I'll fetch my son. And I stupidly thought, right, well, if you're taking your son, I'll bring my little girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I knew, because my sister lives down there, so I knew I always had that fallback. So I knew that she would be safe if anything untoward, or if it kicked off, let's say. So I went down to Bournemouth and we rented a caravan, really nice caravan on a lovely site, and I went off to work. I dropped my daughter off with my sister whilst I went to work. I came back, and again, he'd been drinking all day, he'd been smoking marijuana. He was, he was
Toxic.
a bit of a mess.
Yeah, it's not an easy environment to be around or live around.
So I was sober, he was drunk, then he was buying me shots, trying to get me drunk, and I was like, no, I don't want to, got a long drive tomorrow. Cut a long story short, he kept nipping back to the caravan, and I knew he was doing drugs, and it really upset me because I had my daughter with me.
So you assume, was it cocaine you assumed you were doing?
I don't know what it was, to be honest. It was a
just a
concoction with him. It was anything he could get his hands on, if I'm totally honest, yeah. And he was nipping back to the caravan, so I decided to follow him. And I followed him to the caravan and I confronted him. I found him taking cocaine in the caravan. And
how do you feel when you've been on the other end of that? How do you feel when you've just walked in on someone that you care about using drugs?
Upset, let down, upset with myself really, because again, not only had I let this man into my life, it sort of crept into my daughter's as well.
Yeah.
Only because of my fear, because I was under his control and I felt I had no other option. And
so you needed someone at the time who was looking in.
I needed someone who was vulnerable, but also the way he was from a very early stage meant he had a grip of me.
Yeah, it sounds...
mentally had a grip of me. Too
sounds
scared
like
to not be with him.
Yeah, I totally get that.
So therefore, my daughter, and I was upset with myself really, because I thought, why have I done this? Why have I put myself in this position now where I'm on a caravan site? Of course I'm taking drugs, I'm upset about that, and what do I do? So I confronted him in the caravan, and he set about me worse than ever. Yeah. I can only assume he went into drug psychosis.
Yeah. And drugs
his eyes rolled back into the back of his head. Yeah, he was blurting out all kinds of rubbish, all kinds of accusations, and coming at me. Literally rugby tackling me to the floor all over the caravan.
A full-grown man.
Yeah, and I was black and blue. And then once I'd got me on the floor, he pinned me down with both knees on my shoulders. So it rendered me defenceless.
Yeah.
And he put his hands around my throat, put his thumbs on my windpipe and
Jesus
squeezed.
Christ.
And that's all I remember.
That's intending to kill somebody.
His last words were, "I could kill you right now if I want to."
God,
and I
I'm
blacked out.
scared. Must you have been? Were you?
I was. You know, to be powerless like that is not something that I've felt for a long, long time.
No.
And like I say, it brought back past emotional wounds
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
decades of abuse.
It's
From
triggered
being
all them
such a
off.
strong woman, building myself up, like you say, from the bottom, to then walking straight back into a severely abusive relationship and feeling unable to get out of it.
That's it. All them emotions that you once thought you could just bury was brought back to the surface. So you're kind of dealing with it twice, but
Yeah.
tenfold
Yeah.
at that time. So that must have been tough. And like you say, you feel a sense of shame and guilt. But we should never feel like that. But it's easy to say that now.
Yeah.
But in the moment, that's kind of where we put ourselves. So sad.
So he attacked me on that occasion, and like I say, we had our children with us. I didn't know what to do. I woke up from blacking out and I was absolutely black and blue. So I believe that he carried on abusing me,
yeah, he must have done,
attacking me
definitely.
whilst I was out cold. And
Where's the
that in
kids when
itself-
all this is going on?
sorry,
Where were the kids?
they're in the arcade.
Oh, thank God for that. I mean, it's not like any situation is good, but I'm glad they didn't see that.
So I literally come round, realised what had happened. He was, again, all apologetic. I don't know what come over me. I'm so sorry, crying, begging, pleading. I love you. All this garbage coming out of his mouth, you know, to try and stop me from making my next move, if you will.
What a role model for his son, you know.
Yeah.
What a standard to set. It's disgusting.
So the kids were with us, so I decided I wouldn't get in touch with the police and I'd just try and get through the night. Wake up the next morning, drive home and then go to the police. I needed my child in safety.
Yeah, of course. And your kids have always been your everything, and you would put them before anyone. So
Yeah.
I know this is definitely a situation you wouldn't purposely have put yourself
No,
in
absolutely
if
not.
you'd have known in hindsight what was to come. Not really Alison, I know.
No. So we made the journey home the next day and he was, you know, again, bombarding me with apologies, bombarded me with, you know, I'm so sorry, I've never done anything like
Love
that before,
bombing.
you know, again, blaming it on his past, blaming it on his upbringing, blaming it on anybody that he could think of really, and situations that he could think of to try and sort of cloud my judgment.
Everything but himself.
Yeah. So then I made the trip home, and by the time we got home after the 6-hour drive, I was just exhausted. And I'll be honest, I just brushed it under the carpet and thought, right, I need to firstly get rid of this man, get him out of my life, get him away from my child, get him away from my home.
Yeah,
At that point, he knew
absolutely.
exactly where I lived, he knew where my daughter went to school,
It
he
sounds
knew
simple.
a lot about me.
It's not that simple and just going away, especially when they know you're like not only the breadline, but the only
Yeah.
person that gives a damn,
Yeah.
and the only person that is around while they're acting chaotic.
Well, he had nothing. He literally had his own home, but he didn't want to be there. He had no income. I'm not sure what income he had. I don't know whether he was selling drugs. I don't know anything about this man, and I think
Yeah, I was
there's a lot
just
to be
gonna,
said
I was just going to
about-
say, you know, what was his reasoning for using drugs? Because there's always an issue behind the madness, you know.
Yeah.
Not to say that's excusable
Well, he used
whatsoever.
his childhood traumas, and whether they are true or not, I'll never know, because I know what lies people can take and what make up
And there's many people
excuses.
who have, sorry to speak over it, there's many people who have traumas that don't go about it in people, and especially men
Yeah.
on women, so
Yeah.
not everything can, not anything to me can be
It
blamed.
was just something he used to cloud my judgment and stop me from progressing to going to the police, I suppose, and going getting help. So we're on probably 3.5 months now, and he knew I was trying to push him away. Not that I ever said anything, but I was just being. I think he knew there was something off, and he said, "I'm booked as a glamping pod for the night, and I was like, no, I don't want to go. And he's like, no, I was trying to make every excuse under the sun. I've got work the next morning, which I did.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not drinking. I don't want you to drink. It won't end well. You know, we've been arguing. I'm not really up for it. And again, he's pressure, you know, grinding me down. Ended up agreeing to go into this glamping pod. And in my mind, I thought, right, at least it's far away enough for me to get home safely, lock my doors,
Yeah.
and I've done with him. And that was my plan that night.
Do you think he's seen that like as a make or break
Yeah.
excuse?
Yeah, of course. I think in his twisted mind, he thought that he could just carry on doing what he wanted because he had control of me. But in my mind, I'd already made my mind up, but I needed to do it in a safe way.
See, someone who's thinking rationally would fix himself up at that point because
Yeah.
they risk of losing probably the best thing that's ever happened to them, you know. But under the scale, they can go right off the scale and go the other end, and you know it's not pretty.
I mean, I'm not giving him any excuses because there's no excuse for what he did to
Not
me
one.
in the end.
No,
But
no.
I think for someone to use their childhood trauma as an excuse, like you said,
Yeah, there's no
lots of people I
excuses.
know with trauma and they don't go around hitting people. In fact, they're the opposite, the super empaths.
Exactly, yeah.
They don't like to see people struggle, and they definitely wouldn't like to see somebody else harmed if they've been harmed.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's any excuses for it, but you'll have someone, in my opinion, you'll have someone in the background going, well, it's their product, they've witnessed that. I don't care, you know, I don't use anything as an excuse.
No.
You know, I know what is right and wrong, and it's common sense, you know, and to put hands on a woman, a man should never do.
No.
You know, mentally, sexually, physically, any which way is abuse, and I just don't think there's any excuse in the world that they can give you for that.
So it got gradually worse over the next 2 weeks, and we had this glamping pod booked, and on the run up to it, he was doing strange things to me. In the time I was with him, everything feels like a bit of a blur. Now, I've questioned this and I can't prove this, but I think he might have been putting stuff in my
Exactly where my mind
drinks,
went to then, to be honest.
in my cups of tea even at night, and I just feel like everything's just blurred when I think back to it, but that could also be my trauma, I know that.
Yeah, but you've not been ever really into your drink, or you've never touched drugs, you're not even a smoker. So I think you can tell when something's not quite right with yourself.
So he would do things like, he'd want me to fall asleep and he'd wake me up having sex with me, and that I never felt comfortable with, ever. And I told him on numerous occasions that I wasn't okay with it, and it got to the point that that was the only time that we had sexual intercourse. And now
Surely
looking
that's
back
not
at
consented.
it, no.
No.
Absolutely
So then
not.
again,
I told him numerous times that I was uncomfortable with it. It was weird. I didn't like it. I'd never experienced that before. And for him to be doing something to me whilst I was asleep absolutely terrified me.
so that to me would say that's rape.
Yeah. So I'd asked him not to do it, and he was like, no, I'm going to have you whether you like it or not.
Wow.
And those kind of things that he was saying to me, again, didn't register at the time. I was just in such a blur. I was riddled with anxiety.
Shadow of yourself.
Yeah, I was literally controlled, and I didn't at that point even go to the police because I didn't recognise it as rape.
No, and it is, for sure it is, but I can understand your frame of mind, you know, because you're a shadow of who you used to be. Everyone sees you as this powerhouse warrior, which you are, but you wouldn't have seen that at the time because of the state of mind you was in. But he's kind of preyed on that.
Yeah, I think there was so many threats being dished out, so many threats to harm people I love. You know, my ex-partner, I had no issue with my ex-partner other than we'd just broke up, and you know, it's very, very sad. But he was threatening him, he was threatening to do things to my own daughter. You know, all those threats were on top of my shoulders, and I'm thinking, what's my next move? How do I get out of this?
Yeah. Did you literally fear for your life?
Yeah. And then it got to the glamping pod night. So we go to the glamping pod and, you know, under protest, and he's nipping outside every 2 minutes, and I knew exactly what he was doing. He was having a drink, I wasn't, because I had the clinic to run in Hebden next day, and I was just really out of sorts. I knew I didn't feel comfortable, I couldn't relax, I was on edge. I was waiting for something to happen, and it did. He came in from being outside, and I knew I could hear him sniffing cocaine outside. So I challenged him, but I also knew in the back of my mind what come with those challenges. And straight away, he just turned, went into drug psychosis, eyes rolled back of his head, and he was saying random things like, "How could you do that to my son?" You know, and I was scared. I was like, what's happening here? He's literally convincing himself that I've done something so that he can come and attack me. And right, he did. He pinned me to the bed, beat me around the head, tried to get his hands around my throat again. And at that point, I knew I was in trouble. I thought he was trying to kill me. So I sneakily 999'd. When it was almost like an attack, then he'd start crying.
He was on high alert already, weren't
Yeah, I already had it tapped into my phone.
Yeah.
That's how much
tells
on
me.
edge I was,
Yeah.
So I'd pressed the 999 call in the hope that the responder would
the operator.
the operator would recognise that I needed assistance, and I couldn't say anything because he was on top of me, he was attacking me.
But I would think by doing that, they would just pick up on even a 999 call that you put through and put the phone down, they respond to. So I
think there's a way you can do it, and I want to get this out, and it is really simple. You just press 55. I didn't know that at the time.
Right. Oh, I didn't know.
If you 999 and you're in trouble and you can't speak, whatever the reason, you 55 it, they know you're in trouble and they know they need to find you.
That's a really good piece of advice. So that's a really good, if you're in trouble and you need help ASAP, 55.
Yeah. So he's attacking me. I've dialed 999. The operator's shouting down the phone, "Do you need assistance? What do you need?" And I'm thinking, please don't let him hear it. It's going to send him worse. And he eventually did hear it. And he got my phone, tried to smash it, threw it across the room. And at that point, I thought, that's my lifeline. I need to get up. I need to fight.
Because you think you've peed him off a bit more.
Yeah. And again, I don't recall how I did it, but I was literally fighting for my life and I needed to get him out. So that's what I did. And all I remember is getting him out, him tripping up. I think he tripped over the door frame and I pushed him out, locked the door and rang the police back.
But that's when fear really kicks in, though. When your adrenaline stopped pumping.
My adrenaline kicked in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know. I was shaking from head to foot. Even though I got him out, I could hear him still trying to kick his way in.
So you're in a glamping pod?
Yeah.
In Bomb?
No, this is in Littleborough.
Right. So just
not far from mine. And like I said, but just far enough. So like I say, in my mind, I wanted to get him into that glamping pod. And if he did something to upset me, I just wanted to get in my car and drive off. And in my naive mind, that would have happened. But the way that the glamping pod was set out, they're very small, the bed's sort of enclosed, and he was at the foot of the bed and I was on the bed, so I was trapped.
Yeah, I can kind of picture it. I've never seen it. Yeah. I can kind of picture the scenario.
So I knew when I got up to fight, I knew I needed to make it count and I needed to get him out. So I did that, and like I say, he was kicking his way in, he's shouting, he's sending me voice notes, "Open this door, you know, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to slash your throat." And again, I'd normalised that at that point because he'd said it so many times. In my brain, it just like didn't even register how at risk I was, because I was so used to him saying that to me and saying that he was going to do this and he was going to do that. So I was like, you know, I need to get out.
So when you got him outside and you're inside, are you feared of him kicking the door in?
I'm thinking to myself,
the
please
kids coming
find me,
back.
please, you know, I wanted the police to find me so that they could just take him away.
So did you manage to ring anyone? Was your phone still working?
So my phone was still working. I rang 999. They said that they were trying to find me, but because the glamping pod site was quite new, they were struggling to find me, and I'm trying to, in my state of anxiety and trauma, I'm trying to describe where I am And in actual fact, it took him an hour and 40 minutes to get to me.
Bloody hell. It's quite frustrating trying to locate where
Frustrating,
you are.
I was scared, I was crying.
You'd
I was
assume
thinking at any moment he could kick his way through these panels.
Absolutely, and you would assume that the police would pick that location or narrow it down at least as to where that phone call was made from. That's my assumption.
So he's dishing out all these threats on my phone, which further down the line assisted me in securing a conviction. Without that, I don't think I would have done. So the police find me in the end, and he's then arrested in the hills. He'd run off as soon as he realised the police had come and they were on site.
The big man.
The big man ran off, and they caught up with him, arrested him, and then he was really psychotic, really like, come on, babe, what's all this about? You know, really just switched again.
It sounds like reverse psychology.
This is just stupid, this, you know, we're just having a bit of an argument and really minimising it, really playing it down to the police. So therefore the police came in and said, can you prove anything? So I let them listen to a few of the voice notes. They said, have you got any injuries? And I said, well, yeah, I've got loads of injuries. I said, not really from tonight, because he's beat me around the head. I've got lumps on my head. He's tried to strangle me again, which he's done before and previous, which I described to them what happened in the caravan. And they said, well, have you got any bruises? And I said, well, I've bruises all over my body.
That angers me in a way, because but what do you want? Do you to present yourself dead?
Yeah.
You know, before it's ridiculous.
Well, that's it. Why would I randomly pick up the phone?
They've got a full recording, as they said, these calls are recorded, of you in the background fighting, trying to get him off you.
The 999 call would have picked up.
Yeah,
You'd have
exactly.
heard him attacking me. So for me, I think
There's
it was
a-
that
there's a-
there and then you need to prove.
Evidence there straight away.
2 male police officers came, attended the glamping pod after they'd arrested him, saying, well, he's saying this and you're saying that, what can you prove, sort of thing. So I was in a bit of a catch-22 because my bruises were at the bottom half of my body. And I said, well, they're all over me. I said, I've got them here, I've got finger bruises around me, I've got boot marks even where he's kicked me. Well, can you show us? And I said, well, I've got jeans on, what do you want me to do? Take me, well, yeah, we'll turn our body-worn cams off.
So the thing that captures evidence that they wear on the chest, they turned that off.
He turned that off.
What?
And because I was in this state of shock, I was like, I needed to do everything I possibly could to make sure that he got arrested that night.
Absolutely, yeah.
So for me, it was a no-brainer at that particular point. But when I think back to it, I think, how weird is that?
That's so strange.
I've had to drop my trousers whilst they're taking pictures on their personal phones of my body.
So these pictures helped you?
These pictures disappeared.
They disappeared? So these pictures were never used as evidence?
Never brought forward as evidence.
Where are these pictures?
I asked for them and they said they had no record of them.
Wow, that is mind-blowing. It's just blew me out the room. That's crazy. The fact that they've turned the body cams off,
2 male police officers.
which is very intimidating in itself. People in power, again, intimidating, there to protect you, kind of feel safe.
And just having to prove it, like you say. Just having to go down them lines to prove it, and them extremes.
Still going, so you're going to reveal the markings, but yet these pictures didn't make it to an evidence room at all. No. That, in my opinion, is disgusting on GMP's behalf.
Yeah.
Absolutely disgusting.
Further down the line, I find out that they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to have a controlled room, control people there, mixture of male and female.
Yeah.
You know, all those things you would expect. But in that moment, I was riddled with anxiety, riddled with all these emotions, suffering from trauma, shaking from head to foot, not knowing what to do and what's right and what's wrong at that point. So therefore, I never questioned it, just did it on autopilot. I just did it. And then afterwards, I'm thinking, well, where are them pictures going?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then when I find out later down the line that they've just disappeared, I'm now even thinking...
This evidence is stacking up against this guy.
Yeah.
And there's no evidence. This is, it's been recorded. It could have been captured on cam. It could have been listened to on the phone.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. This is absolutely unbelievable.
So they arrest him in the end. They take him away. They're going to take him. They've got 24 hours and they want me to go the next morning and give my statement, which I agreed to. They left me in that glamping pod.
You couldn't leave, you had to stay.
I didn't have to stay, but they left me. I couldn't drive. I was shaking from head
Oh,
to toe.
yeah. You'd have thought they would have escorted you home or
Yeah.
made sure you went somewhere
Or had
other than
somebody,
there.
yeah.
Other than there, for sure.
They just left me.
And did you have his son still with you and your daughter?
No, they weren't there. At the
Right.
glamping pod, they weren't there. They were there at the caravan.
Oh,
previous,
sorry,
yeah.
my confusion.
So, there was just me and him in the glamping pod, and it was just for one night, and it was just literally a stone's throw away from my house. But it was enough for me to think that I could maybe end it that night
Yeah.
and get away from him, lock my doors, and then that would be the end of it.
Where is the safest place at that point? The glamping pod are going on, they're both as bad as each
that's
other.
what I
there,
mean.
aren't they? Yeah.
So for him being arrested, it was obviously necessary, but also that was my way out. That was my only way out. And he got arrested. He was taken away. I was then prepped for an interview the next morning, and I went down. I spent 6 hours in Rochdale Police Station going over and over and over again my story from start to finish. And they picked up on the fact that I'd been raped. They picked up on the fact that I had been abused and I'd been strangled with intent. They picked up on the criminal damage. He smashed up my car at the glamping pod because he was frustrated. He went and kicked the back end of my car in. He obviously sent a load of threatening messages, which helped me in the long run with evidence-wise. And I got up the next morning to go and give this evidence. Sorry, I just jumped a bit, but gave this evidence to go and give this evidence. And the woman from the glamping pod came up to me and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry you've been through this." And I was like, "I'm really embarrassed. I'm so sorry. If there's any damage at all caused, I will cover it." And she was like, "No, I know."
So you've got some empathy from
Yeah.
somewhere at long last. I mean, not that you were looking or searching for it, but it should have been freely given.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're only getting it from a member
This
of
lady
staff.
was lovely, and she knew him. She knew of him.
Did she?
Yeah, and she said, "I know what he's like." And at that point, I was like,
You did
Yeah.
a little tear. Yeah, I didn't say.
She also came to me and showed me this knife.
Knife.
So she came up to me
You're right.
and said,
You all right?
yeah. So she came up to me and said, "I found this knife outside."
Flipping out.
She said, "I know where it's come from." She said, "But have you put it outside?" And I was like, "No." She said, "This has come from underneath the sink in a knife block." She said, "I keep it underneath the sink
that's
in case
scary,
there's children in there." She said, "So he's rooted for that, found it, and probably stuck it in his back pocket."
That's scary. That's premeditated,
Yeah.
whatever, but it's premeditated. That's well thought through, which that in itself is scary. If it's acted on impulse, it's
Yeah.
scary. But the fact that he's thought this through
Yeah.
and thought of what if, buts and maybes,
Yeah.
that's madness.
At that moment, I realised who I was dealing with, because up until then, it was the ramblings of a drunken, drugged up person, you know, all these threats he were dishing out, because he threatened me so many times. It became, like I say, a normality. I just,
Yeah.
it just went over my head after a while. But then once she presented me with that, I was
Once
like,
you've seen
hang on a
it
minute.
in real form,
This is
life.
real. These threats to slash my
Yeah.
throat were real.
I could tell the way your body just reacted when you said the knife.
I
you
just,
know,
yeah.
That's when reality set in.
Out of everything, I think the psychological damage that caused was worse than the physical,
Yeah.
because somebody tried to take my life for no reason other than he weren't getting his own way, and I didn't
That's
conform
disgusting.
to his wishes.
And you've probably got 1,001 things going through your head, like, I'm not going to make it home for my kids. These are
Yeah.
the last words. These are the last, they're all last.
Well, he could have took me away from my children,
Mm-hmm.
could have took me away from my grandson, took me away from all my family, all my friends. And for what? Because I didn't conform, because I wouldn't put up with what he was doing, or, you know.
Because you didn't stay home and do as
Yeah.
you're told. And, like you said, conform to everything he wanted. Life just don't work like that.
No.
We're not plasticine, you can just mould us into whatever.
Yeah. So up until that point, up until going to there, I'd just, like I say, not normalise it, because it's not normal, is it? But in
No.
my mind at the time, and my vulnerabilities just made me
Justifying
accept it for
Yeah.
some reason. And I couldn't even tell you to this day why. But I did. But up until that point, and then the reality set in. I went and gave my evidence, went and gave my statement at the police station, and it was recorded 3 times.
That's unusual.
Rape
as well.
counsellor came in, she wanted to record it, and just reliving it over and over again. I was
It's
exhausted.
intrusive
Yeah.
as well. It's very intrusive. Even
I
though
think
you
it
know
was intrusive and unnecessary.
you're doing it for the greater good. Oh, yeah, I agree. You're doing it for the greater good because you want an end result, but it's a lot for you mentally and physically. I really feel that.
To then be told that after the 6 hours that West Yorkshire Police are going to be dealing with it because it didn't fit into their postcode.
So, because you was in Littleborough, it was Greater Manchester Police that
Greater
turned
Manchester
up.
Police for that,
But
but then
because
for
you
the
lived
rest
in
of
that
stuff
area.
that happened in my home, it fell under West Yorkshire Police. So GMP were happily going to try and pass everything over to West Yorkshire Police.
So it sounds like the book were just getting passed to and
Absolutely,
fro.
and that's what I dealt with for at least 2 years afterwards.
And that's difficult itself, trying to get hold of someone to speak about these things, because you're getting passed from somebody who doesn't know your story, for one, to another police station because it's in a different jurisdiction, is that what they say? And stuff like that. And that must have been frustrating itself,
Yeah.
you know, trying to
Because
get a hold
each
of
time I
people.
make the phone call, I'm speaking to a different police officer, I'm reliving it, I'm retelling the story, I'm reliving it, it's giving me anxiety, and I'm almost having to justify my own fears. You know, the police gave me no protection whatsoever. They let him out on bail. He went before the courts and he was released on court bail with a tag. And I just knew, I thought, he's going to come after me. Well, that's not going to deter somebody that goes into full drug psychosis, who doesn't have any respect for any laws. You know, he's going to come after me.
Yeah.
So eventually West Yorkshire Police get into contact with me, having gone through 6 hours of trauma, dealing with the police, reliving my story, reliving the trauma,
Yeah.
to then have to go through it all again. The detective who
So that
rang,
must have been exhausting.
yeah, the detective from West Yorkshire Police rang me, and she was a specialist rape detective. And the first phone call I had from her was, hi, my name's so-and-so, DC, whatever. And I'm dealing with the rape side of things. Okay. Just before we start, you've got some items of, I won't say his name, your abuser. He wants them back.
Oh,
Can
God,
you
that old
arrange for them to be
chestnut.
brought back to him?
Any just bit of control left that he had
Yeah.
there, he's still trying to take.
For a second, I just thought, this isn't right. What's this about? You know, the first conversation I have with this detective over me being a victim of rape numerous times, and she's asking for
It's almost like
his
you've nicked
things.
his stuff,
Yeah.
like, so you've become a criminal.
And she's demanding that I take him to Halifax, which is where he lives. Demanding that I make my way to a town where my abuser
What, that
lives.
you go?
Yeah.
Wow.
My abuser lives, to then go and hand his precious things in.
God, I know what I would have done with them. They wouldn't have been getting them back.
I did push back. I did
Yeah.
push back on that,
I
because
don't know, Chair.
for me, you know, the importance for me, and should have been,
It's your well-being,
my well-being,
your safety,
safety,
lots,
I'd been
your
through.
mental health,
yeah.
your physical health, and not only that, but your children will get a shadow of the mum. You know, this is not Alison who is, I know, and other people knew you for. You sound almost
An all-round
zombie-like,
functioning person,
just
yeah.
existing and not functioning, and literally going on autopilot
Yeah.
day after day after day.
Well, my business suffered, my parenting suffered, everything, absolutely everything suffered, because my focus was this, trying to get this sorted so I could move on with life. That's all I kept thinking was like, I need to get this sorted out.
So you want to secure a charge, but let's talk about securing a charge, trying to do that, as well as keeping your businesses afloat. So you're financially taking a hit, and then I assume social services come.
Yeah, so I was devastated when the police got involved. Obviously, I've got all the GMP stuff going on in the background, continuously making calls to try and get an update and never getting calls back. To then have West Yorkshire Police take on a rape case, and then it came across to me like they were siding with him, to ask a rape victim for your rapist items before you've even checked the mental health, checked the risks, even got a statement from me. She'd not even sat me down and recorded a statement about the rapes.
There's a few failings here already.
And for me, that was hard to swallow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I voiced it. I made the complaint to her sergeant, and she came back to me and said, look, I'm really sorry. I have got my wording wrong in some respects, but I'd like to make amends. Do you want Clare's Law? And I'd heard about Clare's Law before.
Just
I've
for
never
anyone
really
that
got it on anybody.
doesn't know, can you give us a little bit of insight into Clare's Law and what that means?
So Clare's Law, basically, anybody can go to the police freely if you have concerns about maybe a partner or somebody that somebody that you care about has got a new partner and you're just a little bit worried about that, and there has to be grounds for it. So maybe say it was you and you've got a new partner and I was like, something off about him, just not, how well do you know him?
Yeah.
And you said to me, well, don't really know him that well, but we're getting on all right, but you've got kids.
What he texts me for and says, an example.
Anything really. And because you've got children, they need safeguarding. You've brought, really a stranger into your household, they need checking out. So if I had concerns about you, I would be able to go and say, I've got concerns about this person who struck up a relationship with my dear friend who's got children, can you check him out? They will then bring up their past history.
Which is good, but you've also got to see warning signs before you even think about something like that. You've got to have gone through some sort of something.
And it's sad really that has to be at that particular time. That's almost like the last resort, because there's got to be red flags, hasn't there? There's got to be reasons for it. So this Clare's Law. So I got Clare's Law, and the detective came round after she'd apologised and everything was fine. She came into my home and I was like, can you not just give me on? No, I need to come. And I thought, I know this is going to be bad. So she came in and said, do you want to get yourself a glass of water? And I said, no, I'm absolutely fine. Why? I think you better sit down. And I was like, no, I'm all right. Honestly, I'm a big girl. I can take it. I've got broad shoulders. There's not anything that you can tell me that was going to shock me. I'd already had it in my mind. And she said, no, I think I will. And at that point, again, I was like, oh, the dread inside, because I just knew it was going to be really bad. So I can't go into, obviously, our law doesn't permit me into saying what's on there.
That's okay.
But it was bad.
Right.
And again, it just highlighted who I was dealing with. And it made me feel extremely lucky.
I can only imagine that. But it was crazy that you don't get to find this out till you've been through it all, but then again, why would you look at it for stuff that's not there? But do you actually see yourself as a fortunate one that got out away? You honestly thought you were going to end your life?
There's many people on there, many people on the Clare's Law that he's abused, and the police officer came round and she said, I can't tell you the names of these people and I can't tell you exact details, but what I can say is that they've been through relatively same as you. But
wow, that's scary.
Sometimes worse.
Really scary. God, so we are lucky to have you sat here.
So that dawned on me. That was hard to take. That really affected my mental health then. It sort of like just took a nosedive from there on.
Because will you, well, I say you will be, were you backtracking and thinking, well, it could have been that opportunity,
Yeah.
had this not happened?
I knew when
kind
he
of-
was straddling me and pinning me down and rendering me defenceless, he had his thumbs on my throat. He was thinking about killing me.
So it's a power and control.
And it wasn't just a ramble, it was literally a control thing. It was intentional. So for me...
It's some like, did you get an ego boost or something
Well,
from
I think
this?
he got off. Well, couple that with what he was doing to me
Strange.
sexually, couple that with what he was doing to me physically.
Yeah.
You know, the strangulation, the "I'll have you whenever I want."
It
It
took
was
every
the power.
right
It
you
was the
owned
control.
away. Yeah,
How
every
he was
right.
manipulating me into, you know, accusing me of one thing and then just saying, "But I love you and I'm going to do this, and if you do that," it was all about control. Everything that he did was about control, and that's what he got off on.
God, it's just
So the power
disgusting.
to
All this-
decide whether he was going to kill me on that day or not.
Wow, just like having it. What
Yeah.
what I'm having for breakfast tomorrow?
Should I kill her or not today?
Sounds like he's made it as simplified in his head that he's thinking like that. But
So-
that's a dangerous world to be in. Thank God you're out of it.
Yeah. So he's on bail. He's on court bail with a tag around his ankle. And naively, or maybe not naively, the police are like, "Oh, you're safe now. You know, you don't need. You know, you've got this emergency
With an
tag.
ankle bracelet
Yeah,
on. Oh,
emergency
God, I'm
tag.
well safe.
Yeah. Emergency tag on your number. If you call off your mobile, it goes straight through to the nearest car that's available, and they come
Are
to your
you
house like
joking?
superheroes and save you from this maniac
That's-
man. Yeah.
That's crazy because I had one for, it sounds really embarrassing, but I had one for a week and the amount of times that frigging machine went off and nobody came running and nothing, I weren't in immediate danger, but if that alarm had been set off because he went in for 7 p.m, I'm sorry, but you were still as knackered as you were before the tag got up put on his leg.
Well, on that point, it gets worse. So he's got this tag on and he's got to be in his property from X amount of time, from whatever time in the morning to midnight at night, and then it just rolls over. So he's basically on house arrest. He's allowed out for a few hours in the daytime, and that's probably geared because he goes out and takes drugs and gets drunk and blah, blah, blah. They're trying to sort of control him, if you will.
I thought it was because only murderers went out between 7 a.m. and 7
know.
p.m. Do you know what I mean?
Ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't mean to joke
I
about
know,
it, but
no.
that is just, it's,
I know.
it doesn't even make sense.
I couldn't make sense of it for a long time, but yeah, that's how it was, and that's how the courts wanted to play it, and that's how the police wanted to play it. And in that time, he wasn't allowed to contact me via friends, relatives, or himself at all. Not at all. No contact, no phone calls, no messages, no people intimidating me, which he was renowned for doing in these sort of situations. Again, I can't elaborate on that, but he's renowned for doing this to his victims. And he was on this tag and supposed to be at his home, and he sent a parcel to my house. And I opened it and it had his name on, but it had my address on. And I was like,
Almost
I
like a
don't know
bit
if I
of a
should
mind-
open this. I
yeah.
was scared, really frightened opening it. And when I opened it, it was full of knuckle dusters and balaclavas.
That's weird. What a strange person.
And again, it's intimidating, isn't it? You
Yeah.
open that and you think, what's he planning? Like,
I actually
is this
thought
a
you were going to say
parcel?
they were like a chicken's head or something crazy.
Well,
in a
that's
box.
it. You just don't know, do you?
No.
So all I knew is the parcel arrived at my door. Is this a gift? Is it an intimidation? Obviously, an intimidation thing.
It sounds like something you watch on TV.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to you.
So I ring the
What
police.
it does.
Ring the police. Tell him he's breached his bail conditions because that is contact. You know, it's classed as contact, and the
Yeah,
police
because
agreed.
his contact.
And they came for the parcel to my home, picked it up, never saw it again. And
So that weren't brought back to evidence either.
it was logged on there.
Oh, that's
It was
good.
logged on there.
Thanks for logging that.
But I never got any feedback of it. Nothing. Didn't know if he'd gone to prison, which he should have done. He's breached his
Oh,
bail.
absolutely.
He's sent something so intimidating to my home, but yet.
That's a death threat
Yeah.
to me.
So then about a month after, Wick gets a phone call off one of my neighbours. Now, I had to, again, from a safety aspect, I had to tell people that lived on my road, because I thought, if he comes, Pete, what if I'm rendered, unable to fight him like I was before?
Yeah.
What if they hear screams? What if,
So you had a
I
backup
needed to have other people on alert as well. 3 o'clock in the morning, gets a phone call off next door but one. And they're saying, you need to look at this video. I'm going to send it you now. He's been outside.
I've got
and
chills.
I ran cold. I was like, oh no. So I quickly ran round my house like a mad woman, checking all my windows, checking all my doors, everything. Even though I knew that they were, but I was just crazy. I was like, I need to lock everything down.
Yeah, but
looked at this video and it's him. I know, hand on heart, it's him.
Yeah.
It's his gait, his walk, his frame, his stature, with a balaclava on with a hood up.
Oh, God.
Creeping round the back of my car, looking up at my bedroom window.
Yeah, it's not coincidental.
No, he could have picked any house on that road, but he was focusing on my house.
Yeah.
And
God, that's
it had been picked up on my neighbour's ring doorbell.
Just the thought of someone watching you from
Yeah.
outside alone is alarming.
So I ring the police again. They came out. And it was minimised. It was, people suffering from trauma can, think that seeing things. And I was like, it's there. There is a video. That is not my
It's in
video.
black and white.
I haven't made this video.
Yeah.
That's come off my neighbour at 3 o'clock in the morning. Who else would be outside my house, ducking and diving behind my car, looking up at my bedroom window? Why not someone else's?
Yeah.
It looks like him. It's his frame. It's his stature. It's his gait. He had a funny walk. So I knew it was him.
Yeah.
But because he didn't show his face, because he was balaclavaed up,
It was substantial.
yeah, they minimised it. It was your trauma. It's
God.
this, it's that. Well, it can't be because he's on tag.
So you're seeing things is what
Yeah,
you more or less got
yeah.
told. Wow.
So I went away thinking, well, maybe I'm blowing this out of proportion. If he's on tag, they rang I can't remember what company it was, but they rang the company that was monitoring his tag to find out where he was. Oh yeah, he's at home. Right, okay. So there's some random person then at this point in my mind, outside my house, still upsetting, but it's not him. Then later I find out that the company that's monitoring all these tags are failing. They're not monitoring. There's ways around these tags, which the police know, but they chose to minimise me rather than the risk.
That's crazy. This is the stuff murder TV programmes are made about.
Yeah,
But yet they didn't, because they didn't have a dead body,
yeah,
they didn't have to really use anything, it seems to me.
yeah.
And it's crazy because so many girls go through this and don't get out. Because all this shit that you just presented and should stand in a court of law up against them, it's just been not even shown or thrown in a bin.
No. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what proof do you need? Like, I've given you the proof. Now
Yeah.
you're minimising my proof.
Who's protecting
you're
me?
manipulating me into thinking that it's trauma that's making me believe that he's outside, even though he's there in black and white on a video. I've not made the video myself. I haven't paid someone to come outside my house and do this. This isn't in my mind. It's not something that I've made up.
It's literally,
But yet you're making me
You've
out
given
to
your
be
neighbours the heads
somebody.
up. They've
Yeah.
seen something, they brought it forward and they've presented it to the police.
Yeah. And of course I was suffering from trauma. Of course I was riddled with anxiety. I've got a man that once wanted to kill me or nearly killed me outside my house, maybe having another pop at it, and I've got my daughter in the house.
Yeah, so then you've got authorities that are meant to serve and protect you saying you could be seeing a mirage of somebody.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So just after that, what happened was he was on bail for probably 2.5 years with this tag on.
Wow.
So the reason I know it was him outside my house was because he'd struck up a relationship with somebody else, and all that time he'd been sleeping at her house. Now, if he was supposed to be residing at his house under tag, under monitor, how on earth had he struck up this relationship with somebody else?
And this girl probably gave him some sort of alibi at some point.
Well, I think it was a past previous. I won't go to. It's not my place to speak about that. But what I can say is that she ended up on the receiving end of it as well, whilst he was on bail.
Flipping it.
and this is only what I found out. This wasn't the police or any Crown prosecution that told me this. But I know he attacked someone else and he was serving a 2-year tariff when I eventually got him to court. He was already serving a 2-year tariff for what he did to her whilst on court bail.
So he's doing a tariff outside on bail?
So when he was on bail, and he was on bail for a long time, so my court appearance didn't materialise until 3 years after the last attack.
Right.
So all that time it was getting adjourned. It was going to be 6 months later, then it was adjourned again, then it was adjourned again, because it was a big court case. It was going to be 4 or 5 days long. There was going to be numerous bits of evidence. I don't know what evidence he had, but I had mine, and then he had his, and blah, blah, blah. So they were setting aside 4 or 5 days, and because they set aside such a big chunk of court time, it just kept getting adjourned and pushed to one side, and then he went and attacked that other woman.
Yeah.
And apparently she was in hospital. Don't know the ins and outs of it, but all I can say is that later on, when I did eventually get to court, I found out that he's already serving a 2-year tariff for what he did to her.
Flipping heck. I could have asked who Anuska was a year ago, I would not have had a clue. But I'm resilient, I'm a survivor, I ain't a victim no more.
Resilience Rising Podcast.